Hey everyone, let's go on a long walk together. I haven't been out walking much this week because it's been cold and I worked late and it's been dark. But now it's dry and it's supposed to be sunny. I hope it's sunny. It's still cold, so I put on extra socks, an extra pair of pants and double layered everything basically. I also packed some tea and water on this walk, and also in this video I want to talk about Adam Grant's new book, Think Again. I'm going to start it today and I have few expectations. Adam Grant is an organizational psychologist, and Think Again, his latest book, is about, as far as I understand, thinking about things we don't know or rethinking the things we do know. But I will tell you more as I know more and get along in the book. First chapter done. I really enjoyed this. He started off with an introduction as what he wants to do with this book, what his plans are, and then he starts off with the example of rethinking, or rather not rethinking, your product with BlackBerry. He gives the example of how the engineer who invented BlackBerry or came up with the concept and idea and the company, how he rethought existing phone systems and whatever. But he also mentions how he later failed to rethink his strategy and how that was his downfall, or the downfall of the company, juxtaposing it to the iPhone, where apparently Steve Jobs had to be convinced that this is a good idea to turn the iPod into the iPhone. Very simplistic. He points out in this first chapter how we get stuck in different thinking modes and how the thinking modes implement our decision making, our way of thinking, and our ability to change our opinion or the way we think about something. So that is very interesting. He also points out that it's an ongoing process and how smart people are actually not better at rethinking than other people, even though they might think that. So very interesting start to the book. There was just someone running in shorts. Seriously, I don't know how. Anyways, chapter 2 was about Dunning-Kruger effect and the imposter syndrome and how that affects our ability to rethink and think properly and our competences. The Dunning-Kruger effect is related to confidence and competence, and how the most confident people are not the most competent, or how the most competent people are not the most confident. Simplified. Imposter syndrome, compared to that, he described a lot as an ability to question you and doubt your competence and your abilities, and thus enable us to learn, and how that enables us to rethink what we know and to adapt. And he had some very interesting examples there of people and situations. It's very interesting. What was that, chapter 3? I think. This is mostly about the advantages of accepting that we're wrong. It starts off by explaining or telling about this Anton effect, I think it's called, where blind people don't know they're blind and they just pretend that they can still see, but they're in a dark room. So they're completely blind to their blindness. And then he goes on talking about various experiments and situations where people accepted that they're wrong and how they react to that and what that does to their beliefs and their ability to change their beliefs, which is advantageous, I guess. So looking forward to the next chapter. Chapter 4 was rather short, or rather single-minded, on the benefits of conflict and pointing out the difference between task conflict and relationship conflict, how task conflict can be beneficial to work results and at the work environment, whereas relationship conflicts are problematic. This was hugely explained around the Pixar example of the team of disagreeables and pirates. I have heard that before, so I may have not listened properly. Chapter 5 is entering into part 2, and here are so many people, I don't feel comfortable. Anyways, so chapter 5 is entering into part 2, where it's more about not changing our own minds and rethinking our own beliefs, but changing other people's minds and beliefs. It starts off with an example of a debate where he went on, he being Adam Grant, with a certain opinion, and the debate managed to change his opinion, and he didn't expect that, and so he looked at why that happened. And the main argument and idea here is that asking questions and being open-minded in finding a common ground is a better strategy than giving strong arguments and more arguments to prove your point and win the other side over. He talked about a lot of situations where he used that or where he failed to use that, and where they made experiments to test out this argument or this hypothesis. And it was very convincing. Yes, convincing is a word. So, doing a good job there. Chapter 6, maybe 7, back from home. I'm kind of cold, so anyways, let's finish this up here. The chapter was all about challenging stereotypes and prejudices. Highly or mostly the example of groupthink and the Yankees and the Red Sox, or rather the animosity that exists between them. Now, I have no idea about baseball and the animosities there. Is it baseball or whatever? Anyways, I do understand the concept thinking of soccer. In Hanover, it's Braunschweig, so I understand that. And I found it very interesting, the experiments they did to find out what would help people change their stereotypes or opinions about the other team. And they found mostly that it's easy to accept that an individual does not fit into the stereotypes, then change their opinion about the stereotype in general. He also mentioned this in connection to Republicans and Democrats and also racism. He gives examples of one black person having a lot of conversations with white supremacists and KKK members, and how the conversations went and how many people's opinions he changed, or how many people changed their behavior because of him. And I thought it is a very interesting chapter. It's very well presented and very worth thinking about. I wish he found a solution for changing groupthink and the dynamics of growing up with one opinion and then questioning and challenging that, because that's often a problem, that you grow up with one fixed opinion and all your surrounding has that opinion and supports that opinion. So challenging that is difficult, as it's challenging the whole group and your belonging to that group and everything you believe in. Yeah, very worth reading. Chapter 7 was all about motivational interviews. This is when you change someone else's mind by asking questions and listening to their positions without forcing and preaching it on them. The example he used were mostly anti-vaxxers. So he had an example of a woman who didn't have her children vaccinated and how or who changed her mind on that and how they did that. And this was sort of what he talked about before, that asking questions and listening to what the people think is the way to change their beliefs. But I think this is a method that he said you can learn, and there are courses that you can take, and the benefits of working that way. So that was very helpful. Okay, this is not fun. The battery of my camera died, so I'm going to continue filming on my phone. So let's see how that works. Chapter 8 was all about complex issues, or rather having difficult conversations about polarizing issues and how that works and how it's difficult to change our positions and understand the other side. How putting ourselves into the position of the other person or the other side doesn't really change our opinion, and that if we are presented with the complexity of something rather than thinking or falling into the binary bias, that is more successful. And he didn't really give a method or something to do about it, but a lot of examples. Chapter 9 is all about teaching and education and rethinking textbooks and the way to teach. This is looking at different examples of how people taught differently and how they challenged their classroom and how different methods of teaching affect the retention of the knowledge or the ability to think. Chapter 10 is all about performance culture and learning culture and the difference in feeling psychologically safe or unsafe in voicing your doubts, critiques, and basically anything. This was looking at how leaders are perceived and also how or what kind of consequences it can have if you don't have a learning culture where rethinking is a practice. Chapter 11 was all about tunnel vision and escalating of commitment, meaning that we get stuck on a way that we decided on in the past, but maybe we change, but we don't rethink what we thought of in the past. Maybe in career that we decided we want to go this way and we're not open for changing, or in a relationship that we decided what we expect of a relationship in teenage years, maybe, like this idea we have of how our marriage life looks, or the marriage partner or the partner, and that we never reconsider it, and then we question the partner we have because they don't fit that picture. Things like that. And I really like that. The rest of the book was more a conclusion and putting things together. What I really enjoyed were the different aspects of rethinking he looked at, and also his presentation. He didn't always present himself as perfect, but he also gave multiple examples of where he made mistakes and had to rethink his way of teaching, his work, where he had successful or unsuccessful jobs or commitments that he undertook, and that was very helpful, I think. So if you were thinking about getting this book, I can highly recommend it. I don't think that a vlog with every chapter addressing the thing spoils anything. I think you can get a lot out of it, especially if you are not used to rethinking what you're doing and need help in challenging your own beliefs, strategies, or life. Yeah. Let me know in comments if you have read the book, if you're interested in it, what you think about the concept of rethinking, if that is something that you have practiced in the past, or if you have noticed that you get stuck somewhere on a way, on a path, and find it hard to diverge. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.